Greetings, my fellow perverts. It is I, the Artie Dan's, back with another SMUT FILES video for you. Originally, I thought this might be a Cat 3 nasty, but apparently this movie wasn't nasty enough to be a Category 3 movie, but it's still pretty smutty. But the problem is, it might not be the kind of smutty that you're hoping for. This movie is from Hong Kong. It is from 2001, and it's called Crime of a Beast. First, let's check out what this stupid movie is about. A simple man named Hall Fun works on the set of softcore movies as a lighting rigger. At home, he is obsessed with watching adult movies that feature, let's say, restrictive activities. The investor of the film he is working on also happens to be a psychologist, and she invites him for a free session to learn more about him. And at the same time, she also asks him and the cameraman to film a lecture she's delivering, where a keyword in her phrase triggers him. Should have come with a trigger warning, huh? Anyway, he misinterprets the comment and then attacks her. And by attack, I mean R-A-P-E, because, that's a word that I probably can't say on YouTube. There's a bit of that in this movie, by the way. And then he starts to attack random women under the guise of, them who take advantage of men. So he's some kind of vigilante. Two police detectives, including a young and very chubby-looking Philip Keung, badly attempt to apprehend Ho Fun, but not until he RAPEs about 400 other women, and then kills the psychologist's assistant, played by Grace Lamb, on her birthday of all days. In a terrible scene, where the person assigned to protect the psychologist sees her getting attacked in the stairwell and decides to close the door instead of helping her. So FMD, this movie features a complete lack of common sense. I mean, just that last bit alone, where the chick's getting attacked in the stairwell, and she opens the door and looks at her, and decides to close the door. Like, what a fuckhead. Go out and help her, for God's sake. She's getting attacked. And you would have saved her from getting killed. So, that girl that is in the stairwell that gets killed is Grace Lamb. Now, if you've watched any of the videos on this series before, Grace Lamb is a favorite of the channel. She was in Sexy Soccer, and she was also in My Horny Girlfriend. Now, of those two movies, My Horny Girlfriend was the only one where she flashed her boobs. And, surprise, surprise, she does not continue that trend in this film. She is completely rugged up. However, I noticed that the version I watched, the version I watched was of ITE. So I'm wondering whether the version I watched was maybe, and there's perhaps some good scenes that are missing from this movie. So it's definitely not a Cat 3 movie, because there's no nudity, and the sex is, it's there, but it's not sexy sex, because it's RAPE, so it's not sexy sex at all. There is some of that shit in the film. Now, this is one of those really dodgy shot-on-video type movies from the very early 2000s. So, the people who made the film clearly thought, well, it's not worthy enough to shoot on film, but we're not quite there on digital yet, so we still have to shoot on videotape. So it's shot on videotape with some pretty grainy-looking cameras. And hilariously, while the cast list isn't too bad, I mean, it's still got Philip Keung, who might be young in this film, but he'd been making movies for about 8 years at that time, and this is like his 50th film. And even the main guy who plays the main inspector was well known. The chick who plays the psychologist is not a no-name actress, and Grace Lamb's in it as well, because that's the only reason you're watching it. So there was a budget, and there is a kind of budget here because shit happens, and there's police cars and other kind of scenarios that happen. So it's not a kind of shitty budget film, but there is a hilarious scene where they are chasing Ho Fun down the street, and everyone on the street, who are just clearly bystanders, are just looking at them and at the camera. Now, it works in the context of the film, because if I saw a bunch of people running down the street, I'd probably stop and stare at them too. But my guess is that they were staring at the fact that there was a film crew there, and no one knew there was supposed to be a film crew there. Everyone's really horrible in this movie because the plot's dumb. And I'm putting it down to also the shitty subtitles, and they were pretty shitty. But when you combine shitty subtitles with a plot that makes no sense. So for example, they had this guy dead to rights almost at the start of the film. They were in his apartment already kind of looking at all the shit that he had in there, and they did fucking nothing to stop any of it and let it all play out. This one's on the Hong Kong police in this movie. You guys fucked up. You guys let all this happen. Shame. Isn't that what you normally say, Tom? Shame. And because of that, the plot's really dumb. Nothing makes sense. The movie doesn't flow well. The movie doesn't, there's no empathy with any of the characters. You kind of don't feel any kind of, the main actress, so he's on the set of this softcore sex film, and the main actress is a bit of a bitch, and she catches him like staring at her tits all the time. So she then invites him out to a karaoke club where her whole purpose was to try and humiliate him. Now, he brought it upon himself by bringing in a hidden camera to try and film up her skirt. That was his problem. That's on him. But she still had this whole thing planned out where she was going to humiliate him. And that's where you get the problems with the film. It's kind of like, it's just scenes that happen over the top. I wouldn't mind that if there was boobs, and good boobs, but there's none. And there's also a very hilarious open display of video piracy in this movie, where they're going through his pirate VCD porn collection. Because remember VCDs back from 2000? You probably don't remember them. But I have a heap of VCDs somewhere. Normal movies, not porn movies. But in this film, in fact, that's probably the only time you see a boob, when they hold up a cover of one of the porn films and, you see a naked lady on it. So, as a SMUT FILES movie, I shouldn't have even called this a SMUT FILES movie, because you're probably looking for a movie where you can go, yeah, this is pretty cool. And, getting your lotion out, your tissues out, and perhaps, dedicating an hour of your time to watching something. This is not that movie. This gets one set of pillowy soft boobies. And you know what? They're not even pillowy and soft. They're those kind of really hard transplant, booby transplant type boobs that are uncomfortable and not nice to touch. That's what this movie gets. It gets rated one set of those awful boobies. Don't watch it. However, there is a sequel, Crime of the Beast 2, which I haven't seen yet, and hoping it's much better than this. So look out for that. Thank you, I'm the Artie Dance. You've been watching the SMUT FILES. It's been a long break, and I apologise, but we'll do more SMUT FILES movies now, and Cat 3 Nasties. So welcome back. Subscribe, like, do all that other bullshit. This video was probably restricted, thanks to YouTube. So, if you like, maybe send me a tip down the bottom by using the tip button. I appreciate that. Either way, thank you, and I'll catch you next time.